everyone. Welcome to another Britflix.com podcast. Today's guest is Faith Elizabeth, founder and CEO of Yes She Can, a community-driven organisation founded in 2018 and dedicated to supporting women attending the Cannes Film Festival. Their mission is to encourage more women to attend Cannes and provide support while they are there, helping them navigate, connect, and make the most of the opportunities at that international festival and film market. Now, my guest is going to be talking about why Yes She Can wants to celebrate, inspire, and empower women in film, as well as sharing 3 films that have impacted everything in your adult life. Welcome to the podcast, Faith.
Thank you very much. That was a very kind introduction. So thank you for inviting me to share some stuff today.
Indeed. So let us, without further ado, knowing we're going to do the 3 films in the second part, do you want to, I've given a couple of lines about what it is that you do with your organisation, Yes She Can, but do you want to give your kind of pitch for it or description of how you summarise it when you try to introduce it to people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got it pretty bang on, really. Ultimately, what we try and do is encourage more women to attend the Cannes Film Festival. And that's rooted in the sort of idea that Cannes is one of the most influential places that people can go to progress their careers. And so we want to see more women there. And then obviously, if more women are attending, but they're not really sure how to make the most of it or how it works, they're less likely to come back again. So we want to try and offer them support when they're there, before they get there, after they go, so they're more likely to come back and keep utilising it to help them progress in their career.
I think that's one of the most important things. I think helping people sort of understand Cannes as much as anything else. Because obviously, if you've been to a conference, you've been to Cannes Film Festival, just that the bells and whistles on top are, this is Hollywood film stars, this is this, or you're trying to sell a film or meet people to get you into film. So you put a layer of pressure on yourself that makes it feel different when it is just an industry event. I don't mean to try and be reductive for the listener who thinks it's all very exciting and glossy and exotic, which it is as well, but that's like a very small percentage of what goes on. A lot of it is comfy shoes that you need to do all the foot counts you'll be acquiring over the days you're in Cannes, as far as I know. What do you think? What's your view of it?
I think because it is the second most televised event in the world, and so we get a huge amount of stuff we see on the media in terms of the red carpet, a lot of people only understand the sort of festival side of it and the glitz of the A-listers, which is a huge part of it, and it's great, it's great fun. But I think that can sometimes make people think it's not attainable to attend, or they don't understand the market element of it as well. So, there is a whole industry that's buzzing underneath all the glitz and the glamour, and people, go between the both. You might be having your meetings in the day and going to conferences, and then in the evening you're swanning around on the red carpet. So yeah, definitely the comfy shoes is a big part of the practical elements of making the most of the festival, so that you don't come home and think, oh God, I'll never do that again.
Now, what you offer is more than just a simple sort of like checklist for how to get the best out of it. You're this year at 2026's edition of Cannes Film Festival, you're going to be hosting a panel or two in the fantastic pavilion. Do you want to share what that is and when people should try and attend?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we have 2 panels with the Marché du Film, which, there's lots to explain in terms of how the festival works, but essentially the Marché is the market side of the festival. And within that, they have official conferences. So they have 100 conferences this year, and 2 of those conferences we are hosting ourselves.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a big year for us, actually. But yeah, one of them's with the Fantastic Pavilion, and the other one is our first conference independently that we're hosting ourselves. So that's another huge step up for us. And yeah, we're basically trying to bring more women's voices to those main stages. And everything we're doing this year is circling around this idea of building collective power and how coming together and working together is actually going to strengthen us.
Yeah.
And so everything we've programmed from our new terrace, which we're launching this year. So we have some panels ourselves on a little members area. So it's a big program. All the way through to, networking, happy hours, all that kind of stuff. But it's all rooted in this idea of how can we bring, different people together from different parts of the world and different parts of the industry to leverage what you've got in order to work together in a more structured way so that we can all benefit from it.
Indeed. So what are the dates and times of what you've just said, the two panels?
Well, actually, so we just had an email just before you called from the Marché, which went out to all attendees this year. And so there was 50,000 emails, I think they sent out to across the industry. And they highlighted 12 conferences. And of the 12, they highlighted both of our conferences within that. Yeah, so it's amazing that they're actually giving us some real, tangible support. So we have May 14th between 4 till 5 p.m. and that's on the main stage, and that's building collective power, how women shape influence in film.
Okay.
And then on May 16th from 3:30 till 4:30, we have our panel in partnership with the Fantastic Pavilion, and that's Women in Genre, Shaping Careers, Opening Doors and Building Power, followed by a cocktail party with the Fantastic Pavilion as well.
Indeed. I am booked in for said cocktail party. So who's going to be on the panels then? Who have you got? Who you be talking with?
The people on the panel will be in our Building Collective Power.
Yeah.
And we have Sarah Hamilton from E2AC. So they're co-partnering with us to host the panel.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ganeet Monga Kapoor from Women in Film India, who's an Academy Award-winning producer.
Mm-hmm.
We have Maria Hundes Shetsvova from Disauthority, which is a UK production company and post house. And we have Amanda Toney from Stage 32, which is one of the biggest education platforms in our country.
Yeah.
And we have Maria Soccer from Maria Soccer Productions, who's an LA-based actor, filmmaker and producer. At the Fantastic Pavilion, we have two different partners this year. We have Etheria Film Festival and we have Wench Film, who are two female-focused film festivals in genre.
Okay.
It's run by Heidi Honeycutt, who is an incredible powerhouse in genre, actually. She works for Studio Dome as a programmer. She works for Blood TV. She's an author of the book I Spit on Your Celluloid, The History of Women Directors. She's incredible. I met her at Sitges last year when I was invited to speak on a panel there. So managed to convince her to come to Cannes, which is incredible. And she introduced me to Sapna from Wench Film Festival, which is the first genre festival in India. And so she's got a wealth of knowledge to bring from her perspective from India. And then alongside them, we've got Natasha Halevi, and she's an actress and director. She did a film called Give Me an A, which was an anthology film. And she's also in a few of the Marvel movies and things. And we've got Joanne Mitchell, who is a British director, writer and producer, who had a film called Broken Bird, which opened Fright Fest a couple of years ago. I think it was 2024.
It was, yeah. She's two-time guest on Britflix as well.
Yes, I actually listened to her episode. I forgot I'd done that, yeah. So her film has just come out, Broken Bird. I believe it came out a couple of days ago in the States.
Yeah.
She'll be sharing some bits with us. And then we've got Lee Lawson, who is an up-and-coming filmmaker and actress. She just won the South by Southwest Jury Award for her film. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Man-eating.
Okay.
Not sure what your rating is on this.
Oh, sorry, you mean for my censorship? Say what the title is. No, don't be.
Okay, so it's called Man-Eating Pussy.
Okay.
And they won the South by Southwest Jury Prize, and she's also just been nominated for a Canadian Screen Award as an actress as well. So she's very much up and coming at the moment. Fantastic.
Well, you've got your hands on a lot of talent there, haven't you? Then, so it's going to be quite the inspirational set of panels you'll be involved with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what we've really tried to do is bring women from different sides of the industry and not sort of people who are a bit newer but who are doing good things, so that we get a broad perspective, not just of people who are experienced and, have maybe benefited from how the industry worked 20 or 30 years ago, but actually getting a perspective of what is it like if you've been in the industry, for a significant time, and then what's it like if you're sort of more entering the industry and getting success within that. But again, I think that can give us a wide range of perspectives that, everyone will be able to learn something from.
And I think the other impressive thing about what you've just listed is also the global perspective you're offering as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's important we try and, bring people from different parts of the world, and especially India this year we're working a lot with, because they, particularly have an issue in terms of just even the currency. It's just so much more difficult for them to get to Cannes or to get to these sort of places where you can make connections that do make a big difference. And so we've got a real focus this year on supporting Indian filmmakers in the genre through Wench, and also in the main panel with Ganeet as well.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you for sharing that. Where can people get information? Where can women filmmakers get hold of information about Yes She Can before they even attend? Is there anything available online that they can see to start sort of getting themselves ready?
Yes, absolutely. So we're most active on Instagram. So if you want to get, the latest updates and see what's happening, you can follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
And then on our website, we are slowly announcing more and more of our events, which will be on the What's On section. So you can get an idea of what's coming up. And then there's a few events which are for our members, and then there's a few events which are more open. So if you want to attend some of them, then you can reach out to us and we can see about getting you involved in some way.
Brilliant. Well, look, I'll put links in the show notes to your website, and any links that we can get for Cannes Film Festival, put them in too. And we shall now move seamlessly along into 3 films that have impacted everything in your adult life. You ready for this?
Are you ready for this? That's the question.
Of course I am. You see, people will know when we get to the first choice why Faith may be baiting me like this. But I've done 2019's version already on this on this podcast. So
I'm interested to know the perspective of how that impacted their life. Was it 370?
Right then. Just before we get into start that, let me just give the rules of the format for people that maybe are joining this for the first time. Faith has given me 3 film titles. I'll do them in the order that she's given me. And every time we hear this sound, so you can hear that at your end, okay, Faith, yeah?
Yes, very much so.
Good. So every time we hear that sound, that means 5 minutes are up, and then we move on to the next film. Does that sound fair?
Sounds great to me.
Okay, then. Clock's ticking. And on your first choice, we're going to be talking Cats, the 1980s long-running Andrew Lloyd Webber musical based on Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot. No, not the 2019 movie version. We've already done that one. This is the 1998 film that captures a 97 performance of Cats at the Adelphi Theatre in London, starring Elaine Page as Grisabella, John Mills as Gus the Theatre Cat, and Ken Page, the Broadway star, and as Old Deuteronomy. It tells the story of Jellicle cats who come together for a Jellicle ball to rejoice with their leader, Old Deuteronomy. One cat will be chosen to go to the Heaviside Layer and be reborn. Fun fact, the score for this film version was performed by a 70-piece orchestra. Imagine the production costs of that. And Jellicle the cat came from when T.S. Eliot's niece tried to say, "Dear little cat," which I thought was quite sweet. So tell me, Faith, why does this filmed version of a theatre production have such fond memories for you and impact on your life?
I thought it was interesting that you didn't ask what our favourite movies were, or movies that you'd recommend someone watch. That the question is, what impacted your adult life?
Yes.
And for me, thinking back to early childhood, I was one of 6 children. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, and we would buy VHSs. I'm showing my age here, but we'd buy VHSs, and we didn't have a lot of them, but we did watch a lot of Disney films, and they were always fun. But we had this Cats VHS, and I was just mesmerised by it. I would watch it over and over and over again. And I just thought the cats were really interesting creatures to see in cinema. And I know it's a live stage play that they record, so it's not cinema in the same way we think of a lot of other films. But I would actually fast forward past all the music. I didn't like it when they were singing all the time. Every time that we got to one of the slower songs, I would sort of skip through that a little bit more. And I realised that I could almost edit the bits out that I wasn't really that interested in watching.
Really?
And and I could essentially just watch the bits that I actually cared about. So, when we have sort of Grisabella, singing her big number, I actually enjoy, Midnight quite a lot. And so I would watch that one particularly. But even Angelica in her slinky outfit dancing around, there would be certain sections that I would just watch, and then I'd get to a song that I knew that I wasn't interested in, and I would almost be directing in a way to skip over the bits that I thought were unnecessary. So it was impactful for me in terms of understanding my control, I guess, over cinema, the way that I can watch what I want. And, in DVDs now, you can't really fast forward in the same way as when I was sort of curled up in front of the VHS tape with just my finger on the button and hitting fast forward and then hitting stop. Whenever it sort of something came on that was interesting to me. So it's a really foundational film for me. And when I think back to the first time I went to the cinema, I actually remember the first film I ever saw.
Okay, go on.
I don't have a strong memory of being in the cinema as a kid. We didn't really go very often. We couldn't really go. But when I think back to early childhood, it's Disney as a whole, but I still can't put a finger on what Disney film particularly. But it was like, we'd watch all the Disney stuff. But then it's Cats. So that's where, cinema for me really started. I don't know what that says about me.
But I think it has to start somewhere, and even if that's your conscious memory of sitting down to watch something, because part of it is sitting down to watch that long form thing that has a beginning, middle, and end, and obviously Cats has it, and so does Incredibles has it, so does Cinderella. It's like if that's the one that got, and also I think having a VHS of something when you're a kid, I can remember when you couldn't buy VHSs as well, so having it taped off the telly, you were. That was your collection, what you could get off the telly kind of thing. And one of my films would be Time Bandits. That was we taped that off Channel 4, and therefore that's what we had to watch. So
it's very limited. Now we have, thousands of films at our fingertips.
There's your first 5 minutes. Well done. How did that feel?
Good, actually. Yeah.
I
feel a bit exposed bringing Cats to the surface as my beginnings of my cinema, but you have to be honest about where you started and
absolutely.
And where you
are. No, I mean that the point when you mentioned about me not asking what your favourite films are, because that's too limiting, because in a way I could ask you today what your favourite films are, and in a week I could ask you again, and if you didn't refer to your notes, you'd probably say one, maybe two that are different. Whereas if I say what's had impact and what lasts in the memory in terms of your life, that personal biography element is, look, lots of people come on and do this and they try and be cool, and it's fine. You can be as cool as you want. But actually, our personal biography, nobody's cool at 8.
No, exactly. And actually, I didn't get to tell you, but when we got a camera for the first time, I had cats, teddies, like actual cats, not from the movie.
Yeah.
And I recreate cats with these cats, like jumping around in front of this camera. So there's a video of me somewhere playing out cats with my cats. So is that the first film I ever made? Who knows?
Well, sounds like it was. Right then. Second up, we have got Greta Gerwig's 2023 zeitgeist of a film, Barbie, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Barbie and Ken. Their story begins when they leave the perfect world of Barbie Land and discover the joys and perils of living with us regular human beings. Fun fact, the swimsuit and overall look Barbie wears in the opening scene, which I didn't know, this was quite fun, this is a direct recreation of the original 59 Barbie doll that debuted in stores. And Ryan Gosling took the role of Ken after seeing his daughter's Ken doll lying face down in the mud next to a squashed lemon. He then took a photo and sent it to Greta Gerwig saying, "I shall be your Ken. His story must be told," according to reports. So tell me, Faith, why does this film have such memories for you and impact on your life?
Yeah, so I think this is another one where, in childhood, Barbie was such a big thing for my generation and for us specifically growing up. I remember being horribly jealous of my sister who got this brand new Barbie carriage doll with the horse-drawn carriage that I hadn't got for my birthday. So there's a lot of strong sisterly memories of us cutting each other's Barbies' hair and stealing each other's Barbies and doing horrible things to these Ken dolls as well. They rarely had clothes on, and they often had black pen of some sorts all over them. Yeah, it's definitely a big part of my childhood. So when the film came out, as as for a lot of women, it wasn't just the nostalgia of a cherished childhood character that was finally coming to life. But I think what we did with it in terms of capturing a feeling that a lot of us had in many different themes, actually, in terms of that, striving for perfection, not feeling good enough, trying to fix something about yourself. It just really resonated on such a deep level in a way that really opened my eyes that it wasn't a drama, that it was like this fantasy. And I think we do watch, really powerful drama films that move us in these ways. But I think to see it wrapped in this delicious pink, exciting sort of Barbie energy and it to resonate and have such a powerful message. We were crying in the cinema. We all actually went dressed up. It was my sister's birthday. We all went and dressed up and we did the whole Barbie craze thing where we were different Barbies. And yeah, really, it was a real moment for us to watch it together and to um, to laugh together, to cry together. We screamed when we saw the heel shot when she steps out, and her feet are in this foot shape. Again, I don't know how many of your male audience are fully aware of the shape of a Barbie doll's foot.
No, well, I certainly not. No.
Yeah, but they're basically permanently in a healed position.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So there's no ankle bend in it. So that is quite iconic for us. So the way that Greta did it so beautifully and the way that she understood so intimately how Barbies were played with, and there were so many things that were how girls played with Barbies that she effortlessly wove into the film in a way that if you didn't really understand, you might not have necessarily picked it up. But it kind of had that, Lego element where in the Lego movies, everything's made of Lego and it sort of tries to stay true to all the elements being actual pieces of Lego. It had that kind of element where, she steps in the shower and there is no water because the shower didn't have water in the Barbie dream house. But she's just showering as if, she's taking a shower. Like it felt like we were playing almost with her.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting you mentioned the Lego movie because I think like the Lego movie, the Barbie movie, despite the surface sheen being this is a exploitative marketing exercise in how to sell toys, they actually both were quite subversive in terms of their messaging that was, and in particular, impossible to be a woman speech that's in the middle of the movie. That's not really saccharine sweet, is it?
No. And I think, Greta did such a good job with it. Like somebody else who maybe didn't understand Barbie so intimately and didn't, understand the theme so personally might have, done a more surface level job with it and focused more on the...
There's our bell, I'm afraid. Do you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, I was just saying that, it would be very easy to focus on the fun and games of playing with Barbie and actually the fact that she had such a heart for telling the story that touched so many women's lives. I think, we all owe her so much for being able to bring that story to the cinema.
Indeed. I think because obviously it didn't touch my life and I wouldn't have repeated the way you talked about it. I can hear the sort of the join and the separation between a joyful movie, but also triggering memories of like you and your sisters. It's like it's sort of and like you say, if it felt true to you, then clearly there was a job well done in terms of understanding what the toy was in terms of bringing it to life in a movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we don't see enough women's stories, and we don't need all stories to speak to everyone. And I think it's important that we do tell more women's stories that, not everyone would understand, but that a lot of people, half the population, may understand. So
Indeed. That's quite a few here. Right then. For your final choice, we're going to go to Guillermo del Toro's chilling coming-of-age horror, Pan's Labyrinth, a very different young girl's point of view of the world. We are now in 1944 Francoist Spain, and the star of the show meets a faun who tells her she's a princess and that she must prove her worthiness by completing 3 dangerous tasks. It is quite the amazing horror film, I think, on one level. It was fascinating to read that Del Toro gave up his entire salary, including back-end points, to see this film get made. To this day, he believes it was worth it. And he wrote the English subtitles himself, as he no longer trusted translators after problems with translations had on previous movies. But tell me, Faith, why is this film something that gives you fond memories of watching films, and what impact does it have on you?
So I stumbled into a press conference that I wasn't really supposed to be in one year at, and it was multiple different directors talking, and I just found myself just realizing I was very fish out of water in terms of didn't really know who was going to be there. And Guillermo del Toro came in, and obviously the audience went crazy.
Yeah.
And I sort of knew of him, but wasn't familiar with his work. And so I sat there and watched the audience absolutely gush over him and his work. And actually, a lot of people in there were journalists, and even the journalists you could see were really taken aback by him. So after that press conference, I actually went and decided I was going to watch some of his films.
Okay.
I bought the Ian Nathan book on Guillermo del Toro as well, and I went through his filmography and started to understand who he was and what his work was. And when I got to Pan's Labyrinth, there was just something about that film that just shifted things for me in terms of how beautiful it was and how hauntingly sad it was, and how he'd created this incredible world through the eyes of this, little girl who felt very lost. It moved me on so many different levels, not just in terms of cinematography and storytelling and color grading and all of that kind of stuff, but on the deeply human level, following this little girl's journey as she's struggling with, losing her mum to this monster, while also having to, fight these quests in this other realm. So yeah, it impacted me so much. I ended up buying the soundtrack straight after, and I listened to the lullaby, the theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to the theme. Is it called a theme song? What's it called?
The theme tune?
Theme tune. I think it's a lullaby, isn't it?
Okay.
But anyway, I listened to the lullaby on repeat for hundreds and hundreds of hours, I have to say, at this point of my life. And I only saw the film a few years ago. So there is something about it that has really impacted. And I've gone on to write a dark fantasy about mermaids as my first feature film as a director.
Yeah.
And that song has massively impacted the tone of the entire film inside me. Every time I listen to it, or I hear a note that reminds me of it, it just triggers something in me that just makes me want to bring this mermaid world to the surface.
This story you've just told is arguably exactly why I tried to do this format for the show. The idea that you walking into the wrong room, arguably, hearing people get excited by a filmmaker and go, hold on a minute, I don't know who this is. And then actually discovering a magical world of and talent that has then got on to inspire you is almost like, it feels like that's what everybody should be telling me when I get them on. But so thank you for sharing that. That was really, because the thing is, we never know where we are, and if you can follow your bliss, for want of a kind of better word than that, there is gold in them there hills, it sounds like, for you.
Yeah, definitely. And when you sort of said what are the three films, I immediately thought of these three films. And then I sort of thought, well, that's a bit silly. Is that really the sort of films I want to talk about? But the more I sat with them, the more I thought, these are three films that have profoundly affected my adult life. And so, they're not the best films. I mean,
Finish your thought, go on.
Pan's Labyrinth is in my top films, and it's a huge inspiration for me. And I think Barbie is as well. But I think when you look at it from this perspective of like, how has it made you who you are today? How has it made you the filmmaker you are today? How has it impacted your life? They all have a very specific role in creating the person I am today as who I am in terms of a filmmaker, but also who I am through the company and through Yes She Can and the work that we do to bring those women's stories to life as well.
Brilliant. Well, look, that brings us to the close of three films that have impacted everything in adult life. Do you want to quickly remind people of the two panels, what they're called and what dates they are and where we can find them?
Yes, so our two Marché panels are, one of them, Building Collective Power, How Women Shape Influence in Film.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the 14th from 4 till 5 p.m. And then our genre panel, which looks at shaping careers, opening doors and building power, is on the 16th of May at 3:30 till 4:30. And if you want to attend either of our panels, I recommend you come super early, because last year with our genre panel, it was so packed. We had people sitting on the floor and people were even turned away because it was quite a busy panel. So if you do want to come and listen to what we're doing, then do get there early.
Fantastic. Well, look, it just gives me to say thank you very much for giving us your time on the Britflix podcast.
And thank you for making me think about my, film career in a different way, to understand more about myself as a filmmaker. So I really enjoyed, that experience and getting to share that with you and your audience.
Do remember to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more movies that impacted your life. And if you want to, I'd love to know what your favourite movies are, what your fondest movie memories are. So please share your favourite movies that impacted your life on Twitter. Look for @LeightonRocks. And you can always leave me a review, 5-star preferably. And in your review, tell us which three films impacted your life. Best ones get read out on the podcast.
Hi, I'm Ryan George, host of the Portable Whole podcast. It's a podcast for creatives, especially indie comic makers, where we talk craft, conventions, publishing, and what it really takes to build something from scratch. I share real experiences from in the trenches and sit down with indie creators, big and small, to talk about the work behind the work. If you're building your own creative path and want honest conversations about making comics, this is the show for you. Search for the Portable Whole podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and watch out for the hole.